He did. He responded to a letter that I wrote because I had heard that China is giving weapons to, you're seeing it all over the place, to Iran, that China's
Did he
giving
say he's
weapons.
giving them?
Yeah, and I wrote him a letter asking him not to do that.
Three days of war games reveal rapid progress by the Chinese Navy. What appear to be the first ever simulations of aircraft carrier strikes with a highly advanced J-15 fighter fleet China calls the Flying Shark.
30 feet. That's how close a Chinese fighter jet came to starting something that could have turned into a war between two of the most powerful countries on Earth. This was not a practice run. This was not a game. And according to many people who study military movements closely, this whole thing was being watched live, in real time, by someone the Chinese pilot had absolutely no idea was. Even there. What happened next was never officially talked about by either side. No press conference, no statement. But the people who needed to understand the message, they understood it perfectly. And it all starts here. It is early 2025. The South China Sea. For many years now, China has been making a very bold statement in these waters. They have been building military bases on small islands and reefs, placing weapons and radar towers in areas that many other countries say do not belong to China. Their message to the rest of the world is simple. This is our water. This is our sky. And if you fly through it, we will remind you of that. But America has its own message back. That message is called freedom of navigation, which basically means no single country owns international waters or international skies, and America is going to prove that by flying through them whenever it wants. And today, that message is being delivered by one of the most famous aircraft in American history, the B-52H Stratofortress, a massive old bomber, one of the biggest planes ever made. It takes off before the sun is even up. No extra planes flying with it. No announcement. No big entrance. It simply climbs into the sky, reaches 30,000 feet, and starts flying directly through the area China calls its own. This is not a mistake. This is not recklessness. This is on purpose. When America wants to tell another country that the sky does not belong to them, it does not send a letter or a phone call. It sends a bomber. And it sends it alone. Now, on a Chinese military base called Woody Island, sitting in the middle of the South China Sea, radar operators spot the contact immediately. One big, slow aircraft, flying straight through disputed airspace like it owns the place. The call goes up the chain immediately. Within minutes, a Chinese J-16 fighter jet is already rolling down the runway with its engines roaring at full power. The pilot who climbs into that cockpit has done this kind of mission before. It is almost normal for him at this point. You fly out, you get close to the American aircraft, you act aggressively, you make them feel like they are not welcome. And every single time he has done this, the Americans do absolutely nothing. No fighters show up. No warnings are fired. The bomber just keeps flying as if nothing happened. So today, for this pilot, this is not really a combat mission. It is more like a show. Something to demonstrate that China is serious, that China controls this region, and that American aircraft come here at their own risk. He takes off feeling completely confident. He has no reason to be worried. He has done this before, and it always goes the same way. What he does not know is that today is going to be very, very different. 50 miles out, he finds the B-52 on his radar screen. It is impossible to miss. This plane is absolutely enormous. It was built back in the 1950s when America wanted a bomber that could carry nuclear weapons across the world. Its wings are wider than a football field. It is slow, it is old, and according to every single sensor on the Chinese fighter jet, it is completely alone up there. No escort planes. No electronic warfare aircraft flying nearby. No warning lights are going off on his display, telling him anything is dangerous. He pushes the throttle forward and starts closing the distance fast. Now, here is something very interesting that military observers would later point out when looking at the flight data from that day. The B-52's flight path never changed. Not once. Not during the approach, not during what came next, not at any point during the entire encounter. Which made people who study these things ask one very uncomfortable question. Was this whole encounter planned from the beginning? The Chinese pilot does not know that the question exists. He is just focused on getting close and putting on a good show. He pulls his jet right alongside the giant bomber, so close he could practically reach out and touch it. And then he does something extremely aggressive. He rolls his aircraft completely over the top of the B-52 in what is called a barrel roll. 30 feet of space between the two aircraft. 30 feet at hundreds of miles per hour. Inside the bomber, the whole airframe shakes hard. Warning lights flicker. The crew gets jolted in their seats. But the voice that comes over the radio from inside that bomber is completely calm. Almost bored sounding, like someone reporting mild traffic on a highway. Aggressive intercept noted. Continuing the mission. No panic, no change in direction, no emergency. The bomber just keeps going. The Chinese pilot pulls back and checks his radar again. One contact. No support. He smiles. These people are not even reacting to him. He comes around for a second pass. Even closer this time. He cuts right across the nose of the bomber so aggressively that the American pilots inside can see him clearly through the cockpit window. And still, absolutely nothing changes. No fighters show up out of nowhere. No warnings. No reaction from the ground. His people on the radio confirm what his sensors are telling him. One target. No support. Keep going. He starts to feel really good about this. The most powerful military in the world sent one old bomber with zero backup. This feels almost too easy. He lines up for a third pass. And this time, he is not holding back even a little bit. He cuts directly across the front of the B-52 at full speed. The jet wash, which is basically the wall of violently turbulent air that shoots out behind a fast-moving fighter jet, slams into the bomber like a physical punch. The B-52 rocks hard to one side. Inside the cockpit, instruments spike, and the crew grabs onto whatever they can. At that speed, at that distance, one small mistake does not mean a scary close call. It means two aircraft breaking apart in mid-air over the South China Sea. It means an international crisis that people would be talking about for decades. But the Chinese pilot is not thinking about any of that, because his radar is still showing him the same thing it has shown since the moment he left the runway. One contact. No backup. He is completely alone up here. Except he is not. Here is the thing nobody told him. Here is what Beijing did not know. Here is what every single radar system on Woody Island completely missed. 41,000 feet above him, which is higher than his jet can even fly, sitting quietly in a part of the sky that Chinese radar simply cannot reach. An F-22 Raptor had been in, positioned since before the J-16 even left the ground. Now the F-22 is not a normal fighter jet. It is the most advanced stealth aircraft ever built by any country on Earth. The signal it reflects back to enemy radar systems is roughly the size of a marble, not because it is small, because it was engineered from the beginning to be completely invisible to the most advanced radar technology in the world. Unless the F-22 decides it wants to be found, it simply does not show up. It does not exist on any screen. It leaves no trace. So, to every Chinese radar system tracking that airspace, the sky had exactly one aircraft in it. The B-52. That was it. Nothing else. To the J-16 pilot, he was completely alone up there. But to the F-22 pilot, sitting 41,000 feet above, he had been watching the entire performance from the very beginning. Every pass, every roll, every aggressive move, all of it recorded. All of it documented. And now, after the third pass, patience ran out. The F-22 tips its nose downward and begins to drop. No afterburners, no radio call, no warning of any kind is going out to anyone. Just the Raptor descending through the sky like something falling silently through still water. 41,000 feet. 35,000. 30,000. It levels out perfectly, directly behind the J-16 at a distance of about 600 meters. In an actual combat situation, that position is called a kill shot. That is a weapons lock. That is a missile already in the air before the other pilot even has time to understand what is happening. The Raptor holds that position. Completely still. Completely silent. With the patience of something that knows it, does not need to rush. The Chinese pilot, still feeling confident, still thinking he is running this whole show, lines up for one more pass at the bomber. Then his cockpit explodes with alarms. Every warning system fires at the same time. Lock warning. Missile threat. Close range. Right behind you. He yanks his head around as hard as he can, and there it is. The F-22 Raptor. Right there behind him. Not on his radar, not on any sensor. But right there with his own two eyes. An aircraft that was not supposed to be in this airspace. That his entire briefing said did not exist anywhere near here. Sitting 600 meters behind him in a perfect position to end the entire encounter in under a second. And in that one moment, everything about the situation changes completely. This is no longer an intercept mission. This is no longer a performance. This is no longer about showing the Americans who controls this sky. This is survival. He brakes hard. Maximum turn. The kind of force that makes your vision go dark at the edges and makes your body feel like it weighs 500 pounds. He dumps every single countermeasure his jet carries. Flares are lighting up the sky behind him. Chaff bursts out in clouds. Full afterburner screaming. He runs with everything the J-16 has. But here is the part nobody tells you about running from an F-22. The Raptor can fly faster than the speed of sound without even using its afterburners. It is called supercruise. So while the J-16 is burning through its entire fuel supply just trying to get away, the F-22 is not even working hard. It just watches. Calm, unhurried. Because it does not need to chase. The outcome has already been decided. The Raptor slides into position alongside the fleeing J-16. Wingtip to wingtip. Same speed. Same altitude. No aggression. No threatening move. No weapon pointed. Just presence. That quiet, absolute, terrifying kind of presence that does not need to say a single word because the message is already completely clear. The Chinese pilot looks over. The American pilot is right there. Not tense, not excited, not even particularly interested. Just flying. Like this is something he does every single day without thinking about it. The Raptor holds that position for 10 seconds. Then it gives one small wing wag, a goodbye, and it climbs. And it vanishes. No radar return. No heat signal. No contrail in the sky. Gone. Completely gone. Like it was never there at all. No official statement was ever released about what happened that day. Neither government came forward with the full details of the encounter. But within the circles of people who study these things, the message was completely understood without anyone needing to say it out loud. You do not need a press conference when the lesson is already that obvious. Somewhere behind the fleeing Chinese fighter, the B-52 continues its mission. Straight. Level. Unbothered. It completes its full route through the South China Sea, through the airspace China claims as its own, without changing its path even once. Because here is the truth about what happened that day. That bomber was never in danger. It never needed an escort flying with it. It just needed China to believe it was alone and unprotected, so that China would show the world exactly how aggressive they were willing to be. And they showed it. Every pass was documented. Every near miss was recorded. Every moment of what China thought was a display of power was watched the entire time by a pilot who could have shut it down the second he wanted to. He chose patience. He chose to let it play out. And that choice, that quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are already holding all the cards, That is not weakness. That is total control. So the next time someone tells you America is losing its edge, the next time someone says China has already won, remember this story. The most dangerous aircraft in the sky is not the loudest one. It is not the most aggressive one. It is not the one rolling over your bomber trying to get your attention. It is the one that lets you believe you are in control, lets you perform, lets you feel confident and powerful, right up until the exact moment it decides you are done. Modern air power does not start with weapons. It does not start with noise or aggression or big flashy moves. It starts with invisibility. It starts with watching while the other side shows you everything they have. And America is very, very good at that. The Chinese pilot thought he was alone in that sky. He was never alone for even a single second. And that is the whole point.